welcome to my channel. Welcome to today's video. Today is going to be a foundation review and wear test on this foundation here. This is the Wander Beauty Nude Illusion Liquid Foundation. So we are going to be doing a lot today. I will be talking about the details of this foundation. You'll be seeing me apply it to my skin as well as my first impressions. I'll be doing a 4-hour check-in outside in natural daylight, inserting in some swatches, just comparing shades, and then we'll be doing an 8-hour check-in at the very end of the day, just giving my final thoughts. So if that sounds good to you, like this video, subscribe, stick around. I do upload videos twice a week on Sundays and Thursdays. And with all that out of the way, let's get started talking about this foundation. Let's talk a little bit more about this foundation. So it does come in a standard 30 ml, 1 fluid ounce, and it's $40. It comes in 8 shades, and I got the shade light medium, so right in the middle. I do think it's like a smidge dark, just looking on the viewfinder. It looks less off in person, but it is a little bit dark. In the winter, I probably should have gone with shade light. But even still, for being in the medium category for their depth, I think it's a little lackluster, especially considering that they claim to be a medium to full coverage foundation. If this was a skin tint or a sheer foundation, I might give them a little bit of slack. But when you're in that medium to full category, you should have a broader range of shades. Wander Beauty is a brand that I always wanted to try. It's always intrigued me, but for some reason, something else has always just prioritized that. Something new's come out that I've just bought instead of trying this out. So I figured today's the day. We're going to test this out, see what we think of it. And I'm excited because I've heard that this is a really good foundation. I did purchase this from Cult Beauty, so I'm going to read their description of this foundation, which says, makeup that looks like you're not wearing anything. Wander Beauty's Nude Illusion Liquid Foundation delivers a featherweight, demi-matte, but never flat veil of believable pigment to unify skin tone and help you look naturally radiant. So that tells me it's going to be featherweight, demi-matte, even skin tone, and then naturally radiant. So a demi-matte, but naturally radiant. I always find it very conflicting when foundations claim things like that, because is it demi-matte or is it radiant? Like, it feels like you're trying to claim both here. But let's continue. With medium to full buildable coverage that effortlessly neutralizes redness, spots, and blemishes, this kind to skin formula enriched with line minimizing niacinamide, convenient tube and doe foot applicator for targeted or all over coverage. You can use this to spot conceal pimples or dark spots or blend for a seamless soft focus finish. Again, so 3 different finishes in this description: demi-matte, naturally radiant, soft focus finish. I don't really like that. Overall, I'm finding this description to be very conflicting. Not only are they saying different finishes, but also different coverages where it says you're not wearing anything, yet it's medium to full. So I really have no idea what to expect with this foundation. I do prefer a light to medium foundation, and I do have normal leaning dry skin. So I wouldn't say it's overly dry. I do consider myself more of a normal skin type, but it can get dehydrated from time to time. I just make sure that I am extra diligent about moisturizing. But that is all the information on this foundation. Let's jump into me applying this onto my face. So I have all my skincare on, SPF, no primer. Usually I won't put any primer on to just make sure I can see how the foundation works on its own. And then later on, after today, when I'm testing it more out, I'll use different primers to adjust and see if I can make the foundation even better, depending on what my thoughts are at the end of the day. But let's just get started. It does say on the Cult Beauty website that you can use whatever method you prefer. I prefer using a sponge for application, so I think that's how we're gonna do it. So here is what the bottle looks like, and I have the shade light medium. We'll see how that works for me. It might have been better in the summer, but let's just see. It does come in this doe foot, and I think I just got it everywhere. So it's very hard to get out of this little tube here. Let's put this on the back of my hand. I didn't think it was going to be very runny, because it was in the doe foot and it says you can like spot conceal. I don't necessarily want to put the doe foot on my face. I don't hate doe foot applicators. They're not my favorite. I don't really enjoy putting it on my face. I really prefer a squeezy tube. That's my preferred method that you can just put on the back of your hand. But this isn't bad as long as it's not messy. That's really just my main thing. So I'm gonna put this into my sponge here and let's just get started. I'm gonna tap this in lightly. I did also opt to go for a sponge because this does claim to have medium to full coverage, which seems a little odd. I wouldn't expect that just from the bottle on judging by its appearance. So I do prefer more of a light medium coverage. So hoping that the sponge just can kind of shear this out a little bit. So here's one side of my face done. It's looking really nice so far. The first thing I look for is my pores, and they already just look blurred. And that always makes my heart happy because that's the number one thing I just try to cover, and also just even out my skin tone. But this looks really nice so far. I don't know if I would call this a demi matte. It's just more of like a natural finish is what I would categorize it as. But the finish is nice. Put a little bit more on the back of my hand and do the other side. I do not like how I'm struggling to like keep taking this out. I don't know if it gets easier, but it is kind of tough to like take out of this. It just snags. Let's just quickly do this side. And then here is what the foundation looks like completely on. Forehead looks pretty good. I feel like my cheeks look really nice. Chin. So far I have really high hopes for this. I'm gonna go apply the rest of my makeup off camera, just take a closer look. Putting my glasses on always helps me a little bit. I'm on the fence if I'm gonna apply powder or not because I can see the matte poking through a little bit and I don't want it to be too matte. I like the finish that it has right now. So depending on how sticky it is gonna depend on if I'm gonna powder or not. I'm just deciding because I don't want the powder to ruin the foundation. I'm gonna just give it a couple minutes, see how it sets down, go from there. But I will be back after I apply the rest of my makeup and just talk about my initial first impressions. So I will see you then. So I have the rest of my makeup on and I have some thoughts. So this definitely, once I put the rest of my makeup on, I would consider this medium coverage. So I think the description is right for that. I've done enough of these foundation reviews to kind of just have maybe like an inkling of what's gonna happen. And I feel like this foundation is going to fall apart quickly. I have yet to have a foundation that as I'm applying my complexion products, it was already settling into the wrinkles on my forehead. There aren't that many wrinkles on my forehead, but for it to already be just like collecting in there tells me that this is just not a foundation that's gonna be long wearing. Even around my mouth, it's kind of just looking a little dry and powdery. I have normal leaning dry skin, so if a foundation isn't meant for dry skin, sometimes it can do that, but I don't have extremely dry skin or anything that I'm very concerned about. It's just looking a little makeup-y and just cakey around my mouth area. My cheeks look great. It's very pore blurring. It's not sinking into my pores. So that's a little bizarre that I'm not seeing emphasis on my pores, but I'm seeing an emphasis on my wrinkles on my forehead. So I find that interesting. This is just, it's gonna go either way. It's gonna break apart right away, or it's gonna kind of just mesh with my natural skin oils throughout the day. I'm not really sure, but we're gonna see where this takes us. Right now it is 11:55, so I will be back in 4 hours. I did end up deciding to powder just a little bit. I set my concealer with my By Terry powder, and then I set the rest of my face with the Makeup Forever powder, but I went very, very light-handed, and then I used a setting spray to just kind of take that powder down is what I opted to do. So that did work. I'm interested to see where this takes us. If you're wondering about anything else that's on the rest of my face, I always link everything in the description box below. I was feeling very fall time. I have a lot to do today. Today is the day that I bring all my winter clothes down and swap them out with my summer clothes. It's a little bit chilly outside, so I was just feeling very fall with my berry nails and cool tone look and gray sweater. I really put this foundation to the test. Won't be outside too much, but I will be working a little bit more than normal. So that's where I'm gonna leave you all. I will see you all in my 4-hour check-in. All right, so it's almost 5 o'clock. It's actually almost been 5 hours now. Kind of got sidetracked. I am rearranging my entire house. So I've been sweating. I actually took my sweater off because I was sweating so bad, but here is what the foundation's looking like. See up close here. It does still look a little cakey. Like, I don't know, what's this, dry skin? I haven't been eating. It still looks a little makeup-y for my preference. However, I pointed out in the application process that it was collecting in my wrinkles on my forehead, and it's not doing that anymore. So whatever it's doing with my natural oils, I like it. It looks way better and just a lot more natural than it did when I first applied it. But it looks a little bit heavy for my preference. So it is medium to full coverage. That's just not a coverage I prefer. Here's around my nose. See, it's kind of rubbing off where my glasses hit. Just even here around my mouth. It just looks heavy. It doesn't look lightweight. It doesn't look, that's embarrassing. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't look lightweight. It just, 10 years ago, this probably would be a foundation I would really like. But for now, I just think there are more foundations that are just a little bit more skin-like while still giving that coverage. So that's just what I'm leaning towards now, like half in the sun, half not. So we'll see how the rest of the day goes, how the next 4 or 5 hours go. I haven't been outside that much. I've been inside and it's pretty cool. So when I say I'm sweating, I just mean it's hot and I'm working, I'm closing my exercise rings. So we're going to give this another 4 or 5 hours and I will be back with my final thoughts. Hopefully those swatches were helpful for you. So let's go over this foundation. I've been wearing it a little over 8 hours now. I've had a lot go on. I completely switched around everything. I switched around everything in my house. I don't know when this video is going to be going up. I'm kind of pre-filming right now, but it's going to be sticking like this. But I don't know in my videos when they'll change. Anyways, onto this foundation. Here is what it's looking like. You can just see how shiny it is on my forehead, on my chin. I'm just gonna use my sponge to soak up some of the excess oil, see if that helps a little bit. Take my glasses off. It doesn't look like it's broken up too much more around my nose. I kind of talked about that in my 4-hour check-in. That doesn't look like it's been any more. If anything, it's actually worn away, so now it looks a little bit more natural. It doesn't just look like separated on the skin. For me, this is the best way to just refresh my makeup, is to just take my sponge and tap away and kind of just pushes the foundation back in and then soaks up any oils you might have. It always looks 1,000 times better once I do that. So let's take a look now. Yeah. It looks so much better. It looks so much more natural. I'm iffy on this foundation. On one hand, I love how it looks now, especially after 8 hours. I'm impressed on how it looks. I think it looks really natural. I think for me, the biggest issue is just the coverage. I wish the coverage was a little bit more sheer, so I might just play around with that in the upcoming days. I always, after a month or two, do a ranking style video on all the first impressions that I've done. So I will link that playlist up above if you want to see any past videos, but stick around for that. Check out that video once it comes out to see just more of my thoughts on this. But just on first impressions, it's a good foundation. I just think that this is a little bit of an older foundation. It's not something that's a new release. So I think that if I had tried this foundation back when it had first released, I think I would have liked it a lot more. Times have just shifted, trends have shifted, and for what I'm looking for now in a foundation, it's not 100% it. I'd give it at least a 7.5 out of 10 though. I do think it makes your skin look really nice. I really like how the makeup looks. The lighting might be a little bit off. I need to mess around with it more. I kind of just threw this room back together. I'm still in the middle of adjusting everything. I could see if you have oily skin, this may be not working out for you. Just as your oils progress through the day, I could see this just being a hot mess. I have normal leaning dry skin, so I think that's why after 8 hours, my skin's looking pretty good. Even then, it was still shiny. Just once I kind of refreshed it, it looked a lot better, and I love how it looks now. This is a foundation that I'll be wearing again. I'm excited to wear this. I'm excited to try and figure out the secret combination to really make this work. So that's, I think, where I'm going to leave you all. I hope you liked this video. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, everyone.